Hello guys, it's Foxdrop here. I thought I'd do a video on the new Masteries, the Season 3 Masteries. Now that pre-season, the patch has come out, all this stuff is live, at least it is for NA. I'm on the US, it's not quite live yet, maybe in a few days or something. But yeah, I thought I'd just go over the Masteries in a bit of detail, see what I think of them, give my views, my ideas. So, starting in the offensive tree, the Summoner's Wrath. This is for the Summoner spells. Exhaust, reduce magic resistant armor by 10. That's always very good. Nothing here has really changed, I don't think. So I'm not going to go into anything there. Fury, 1% attack speed with 4 points. That's pretty strong. It doesn't actually you don't need to take this to get armor pen anymore, but that's a pretty strong mastery. Sorcery, 1% cooldown reduction. This is really good. This isn't just for like mages either. If you're playing a resourceless champ like Rengar or Shyvana, the only things they're limited by are their cooldown reduction. So this is going to be a really strong mastery for those champions, and also people who rely heavily on their ults like a Moo and Malphite might find that very useful too. Butcher is the same as in Season 2, decent mastery. Alright, Deadliness. 3 attack damage at level 18 with 4 points in it. Okay, so that's a decent thing. This is pretty similar to Season 2 again. That builds down into Weapon Expertise, which is 8% armor pen, which is slightly less than in Season 2. But again, those two should be pretty decent for the more AD orientated champions. Blast, which is 4.5 AP at level 18 with 4 points in it. Again, pretty strong for APs. Not quite sure how it'll do in the jungle though, because there are not many junglers rely on AP. Maybe Fiddle or something like that, and Fiddle looks like he's going to be very strong in this new jungle. So we'll have to see what that is. Increased damage to turrets by 5% destruction. That could be quite interesting, maybe for someone like Shaco, who's a good split pusher. But I don't want to read too much into this, because this mastery's equivalent in Season 2 was pretty useless. Havoc, increased damage dealt by 0.67% with 3 points in it. That might be, let me have a look, 2%, yeah. In 3 points, that's 2% increased damage dealt. I'm not sure if that would be any good or not. I never took any points in Havoc in Season 2 because 1.5% damage increase for 3 points was nothing. It was crap. It was, for 3 points, for every 100 damage you did 1.5 more points of damage, which is pretty bad. So we'll see whether that's any good. Weapon expertise already did. Arcane knowledge, 8% magic pen, the same thing. Same thing there as Season 2. Lethality, 2.5% critical strike damage, 5% for melee champs. Okay, so 5% crit damage, 10% for melee champions. That's pretty good. People like Shaco, who probably build Triforce, like the Triforce junglers. Maybe if you're playing Jax, if you want to go this far down into offense, you probably won't if you're playing him. It's decent mastery. It'll be interesting to see how that works for the ADs though, now that they're not getting as much benefit out of that. Brute Force, 3 attack damage with 2 points. That's pretty decent. The only problem I have with that is that it's pretty far down into the offensive tree, so we'll see if that gets much use. Mental Force, 3 points for 6 AP. Pretty standard, not much to say about that. Spell Sword, deals 5% of your ability power in magic damage on the target. To the target on each basic attack. That's pretty good actually. We'll see whether that actually just looks a lot better than it is, but that could be really good on AP specifically. I don't think that'll be very good for junglers, but we'll see. If someone has like 500 AP, and 5% of that would be 25 damage, so actually I don't know, that might be a bit iffy. Basic attacks are a bit, we'll see. Maybe it'll be good for something like TF or something, I'm not sure. Frenzy, which builds up from lethality, grants 10% attack speed for 2 seconds after landing a critical hit. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. 10% attack speed for 2 seconds after landing a critical hit. On ADs, I think that would be pretty crazy. Late game, that's going to be very good. That looks pretty good. Sunder is 6 armor pen for 3 points. Archmage is 1.25% per point and 4 points. AP, that is. Those two are the same as Season 2, don't really need to go into those. And Executioner, increases damage dealt by 5% targets below 50% health. I think that is fairly similar to what is currently the runes, but it's not the same. I think it was like, if I remember correctly, it was like increases damage by 6% to people below 40% health. I think that's what it was, I'm pretty sure. So this is actually I don't know whether I'd say it's better. It's pretty similar actually, so I don't think I need to go into any details there. Now, defensive. This is where I can imagine a lot of junglers putting in a lot of their points, because that's kind of like the role of the jungler. So from the left, Summoner's Resolve is the same. Yeah, it's the same as Season 2, don't need to go into that. Perseverance grants up to +2 health regen per 5 seconds based on missing health. Okay, so 2 health regen per 5 based on missing health. That could be pretty good actually. We'll see. The new jungle's going to kick your ass a bit and put you on low health. That might be a pretty good mastery. We'll see. It depends what all that based on missing health crap nonsense means, because it could mean like that's not very good at all. I don't know. We'll see. Durability gives you 4 points by 4 points for plus 108 health at level 18. It's pretty decent. It's a bit of tankiness late game, similar to Season 2. Tough Skin is reduced damage from monsters by 2. That's actually cut in half from Season 2. That's fairly interesting. And on the next line, Hardiness for armor and resistance for magic resist. They're the same as they were in Season 2, but they're slightly further down, into the defensive tree, so that's fairly interesting. Bladed armor deals 6 damage to any enemy monster that attacks you. I don't know whether monster means minions or whether that's just jungle creeps. It probably means minions. I don't know actually. I don't know, but that's the same as in Season 2, so I don't need to talk too much about that. Unyielding. Reduce the damage taken from enemy champions by 1. Okay, so this has got a big nerf. This was a pretty good mastery in Season 2. Reduce all incoming damage by 2. That was pretty strong. This is just damage taken by enemy champions. I'm not sure how good that will be. It's hard to say. It's not going to be very useful against people with burst though, because you know if they're doing one spell for 1,000 damage, say this is a ludicrous example, but whatever, then you're only reducing that damage by 2. But if they do like 10 spells for 100 damage, then you're reducing damage by 20. So it'll be interesting to see. Relentless reduces the effectiveness of slows by 15% for 2 points. That looks pretty interesting for people who don't necessarily want to run tenacity. That looks like it could be a fairly interesting mastery. We'll see. Veteran Scars plus 30 health builds from the durability. That's pretty standard. This is a nice mastery. Safeguard reduce damage taken by turrets from 5%. I don't know whether that'll be any good on it. It's only 1 point, so it could be decent. But 5%, I don't know. It's like, say a turret does 150 damage to you, this will block like 7.5 damage. That could be decent. I don't know whether anyone. I think this is going to be a bit of a dumb point, to be honest. It's only 1 point though, so we'll see. Block, which builds out of Unyielding, reduces damage taken by champion basic attacks by 3. Okay, so this is actually pretty interesting. Combined with Unyielding, that gives you 5 less damage taken from enemy champions with basic attacks. That looks pretty good actually. I'm not sure how useful that would be for jungling. I think that's pretty good for like top lane or something like that, or maybe even for like a support, maybe AD. I don't know, but that looks fairly interesting. We'll see whether any junglers end up taking that. I'm not sure how useful that will be for junglers, because they don't get a lot of they don't take a lot of damage from champions apart from in ganks. So yeah, so we'll see. Tenacious reduces the duration of crowd control effects by 5%. Stacks with tenacity. Okay, I don't know whether that stacks with relentless. Okay, relentless is just slows. Right. Okay, sorry. Tenacious. This looks kind of strong. You could, if Aurelia gets this and she's got Mertred and a passive, then she's going to be like unstoppable. So this could be fairly interesting. 3 points, but I think those are 3 points. It's probably worth it. Juggernaut increases your maximum health by 1.5%. 3 points, gets up to 4%. That looks pretty good to me. 4% health for 3 points. Yeah, that looks like a really, really good mastery here. That's going to make you very, very tanky indeed. Defender, 1 point, grants 1 armor and magic resist to each nearby enemy champion. I don't think that's very good. 1 armor and magic resist to people nearby. That's, I mean, even if you had 5 people going down into defensive, you'd be getting 5 armor and magic resist in total to people around you. Actually, you'd only get 4 because a person with the aura wouldn't get it. I guess I don't know how that works, but that seems a bit bad actually. I think that's a good idea, but I don't think that's enough. Increases bonus armor and magic resist by legendary armor. This is increases bonus armor and magic resist by 6%. That could be pretty good actually. I don't know. Let's think about it. Say like mid to late game you have 150 of each resist, plus 6%. That's about 12. Plus 12 armor magic resist. That's a decent amount for 3 points. I think that's a pretty good mastery. By the way, I'm doing this mastery like in my head, just completely roughly. So this could be, I could be wrong in all this stuff. I'm just kind of rushing it as well. So, but anyway, moving on. Good hands, 1 point. Reduce time spent depth by 10%. These masteries are never really worth the points. But 10% for 1 point, it might be a good dump point, like I say. But yeah, reinforced armor next to that. Reduces damage taken from critical strikes by 10%. That is really good actually. This is going to help you glue onto the AD carry really easily, really well, because you're going to take a lot less damage if they're critting you. So that, for 1 point especially, this is a pretty good master. I can imagine people taking this. This is, yeah, I like this. This is good. Honor Guard, 1 rank. Reduces damage taken from all sources by 3%. Yeah, that's a good mastery. Yeah, that's pretty similar to the one in Season 2. It looks like these the same as the Execution in Offensive. They haven't changed it too much. But yeah, that's a pretty good, for 1 point especially, that's very good. Right, moving on to Utility. Summoner's Insight. This is the TP Revive, Flash Clarity, and Clairvoyance mastery. I'm just going to see if there's anything different about it. No, it doesn't look like there's anything different about it. Oh, wait. Clairvoyance grants additional vision of enemy units revealed. I don't know if that's any different or not, because no one took CV towards the end of Season 2, so... but yeah, not much has changed there. Wanderer grants plus 0.66% increased move speed when out of combat. For 3 points, that gives you 2% by spending 3 points when out of combat. I think that's really good, because as a jungler you're always moving around the camps, and anytime you spend moving around in between camps is actually time you're like wasting because you're not doing anything. So if you can like move around faster, then that's going to be very useful. This is actually a pretty good mastery, and it's right near the top as well, so you can just take these points willy-nilly. That should be pretty good. Meditation, 3 points for 3 mana for 5. That's actually a lot better than people give it credit for. Mana regen is never that bad thing. Improved recall is the same as in Season 2. Bit of an iffy one, but only 1 point or whatever. Scout. Wards gain 25% increased vision range for the first 3 seconds after placing them. This could be fairly interesting. I think this utility tree is going to be very supporty, so it might not be too useful for junglers, but I'll go through it anyway. 25% increased vision range for the first 3 seconds after placing them is... It's not bad for things like, as soon as you put it down, it's going to be good for like specific uses, so like objectives and things like that when you're, stuff like that. I think it's probably going to be very niche, but if you use this right, it could be like a pretty good mastery. Apart from that, it's 1 point and it's it's an okay thing, so for 1 point I don't think that's too bad. Mastermind reduces the cooldown of summon spells by 10% for 3 points. This is pretty good. This is in the second row and 10% reduced cooldown. That's pretty good actually. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the numbers for the cooldowns, but Flash I know in Season 2 is 265 seconds. So if you're getting like almost 30 seconds off of that, that's pretty good actually. Really good. Expanded Mind, 3 points, 4 mana per level. So 10 mana per level with those 3 points. 180 mana at level 18, obviously. I think that's an okay mastery, but I think the main reason people took this in Season 2 was because you had to get to this to get to the mana regen. So now that it's changed around a little bit, we'll see if people actually start taking this. But 200 mana at level 18 is nothing to be scoffed at. It's okay. Artificer, I don't know. Okay, I'm an idiot if I've said that wrong. My apologies if I have. Reduces the cooldown of activated items by 15% for 2 points. Jesus Christ, this thing is good. Reduces the cooldown of activated items by 15%. Okay, this is very, very, very good. I can imagine. I mean, this is obviously very good for supports who use these like items like Shurelias, Iron of Locket around Solari. But even I think like Deathfire Grasp and things like that. I mean, this isn't very far down the utility tree, and if you just want to get like the mana regen and stuff like that, and some of the spell cooldowns, yeah, this is good. It's a very good. Jesus, these guys, right, are really putting through this, making supports more interesting. That's for sure. Greed grants an additional 0.5 gold every 10 seconds, 4 points for a total of 2 gold every 10 seconds. That's pretty much the same as Season 2. Very good for supports. Runic Affinity increases the duration of, same as Season 2. Increases Steel buff duration by 20%. That's pretty decent for 1 point, but it's in a weird place because this is obviously best for junglers, and it was good for AP mids as well because they'd be getting a lot of blue buffs, and they often went in utility for the mana regen, like I said before. So we'll see whether that'll get used a lot. It's not very good for supports. In fact, it's useless for supports unless you're playing Dominion. Vampirism, 1% lifesteal and spell vamp for 3 points. 3% lifesteal and 3% spell vamp. That's pretty good. Again, this is quite far down into the utility tree that I'm not sure how useful it would be for junglers. But in itself, 3 points with 3% lifesteal and spell vamp is pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see. Biscuiteer with a nice Chef Morgana. 1 point, start the game with a regenerative biscuit that restores 80 health and 50 mana over 10 seconds. Okay, this is really interesting. This is something Riot hasn't done before, and I've never seen in the game. Mostly because, it's not been in the game to see, but start the game with a biscuit which restores 80 health and 50 mana over 10 seconds. That's nice. I mean, that's going to help your lane a little bit. It's kind of like a crappy health, a mana pot, really. But you get it for free. And I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I've heard that you actually get, like, that biscuit refills whenever you go back to spawn. So that could be, for 1 point, that's actually really good if that's true. If not, then it's 1 point and you get like a mini health potion. So even if you only use it once, it might be worth it. I don't know. But that seems fairly interesting. Wealth, which builds from greed, increase starting gold by 50 for 2 points. Pretty same as Season 2, very similar anyway, but I think Season 2 was 40 gold instead of 50. Awareness, increased experience earned. I don't think this is very good. For this far down in utility, for 5% experience, I'm not a support player, I'm not much of a support player, but I don't think 5% experience is really that good. For 4 points, nah, I'm just going to throw that out and say this is a bit of a garbage. Waste of 4 points. Strength and Spirit, up to +1 health regen per 5 seconds for each 400 mana you possess with 3 points. So up to 3 health regen per 5 for each 400 mana you possess. That could be interesting. Yeah, we'll see. I think that might be a bit of a waste at 3 points. I don't know whether you should get it, but we'll see. That could be pretty interesting, actually. Very interesting. Anyway, Explorer, it builds from the Biscuiteer. On Summoner's Rift, grants a ward at the start of the game that can be placed to reveal the surrounding area for 60 seconds. On all other maps, grants 25 starting gold. Okay, so Summoner's Rift, you get a ward which lasts for a minute. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, this is good. For 1 point, this is good. Supports are really going to love this preseason, I can tell. Yeah, that's a good mastery. Pickpocket, 1 point, grants 5 gold for melee champions and 3 gold for ranged champions each time you perform a basic attack against enemy champion. 5-second cooldown. Okay. Wow, okay, that is a very, very good mastery. This is going to make, the support role... This is going to evolve the support role because... This really, really encourages aggressive play in the lane, like harass. Really encourages it. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. The supports have just got a complete overhaul really for this preseason. This is really interesting. It'll be good to see like the difference between like a good harasser and a bad harasser in lane, because they'll get, yeah, just to see how this pickpocket works out. I think even though you get 5 gold for melee and 3 for range, that's obviously very justified because it's a lot easier to harass as ranged. However, I do think that 5 gold to harass as a melee champ is not very... I don't think that's a big enough incentive considering how dangerous it is to harass as a melee support because you'll get blown up. But yeah, that's a really nice mastery. I like it. Intelligence, 3 points for 6% cooldown reduction. Any flat cooldown reduction like that is pretty good. 6% for 3 points. I think that's a good mastery. Good old cooldown reduction. And finally, Nimble grants 3% increased move speed. This is really nice. Move speed is a awesome stat. It's a pretty underrated stat in my opinion. Yeah, move speed is always really good, especially if you're playing supports who are just trying to keep up in the action and stuff like that. And if you get this, it can probably allow you to like withhold, like as a support, you don't necessarily always start with boots. I don't know whether starting boots is going to be like the way to go anymore in preseason with the new items. I haven't really looked into that, but this is going to be pretty interesting. Move speed is just always useful. So they are the new masteries. That was just like my insight, my thoughts about it. I don't know whether you find any of that useful or not. It's just my opinion, what I think about stuff. All in all, I think this should be pretty interesting. I'll have to like play with it to really see what happens. But especially for supports, I think this is going to be very, very, very interesting indeed. And I'm kind of looking forward to all these changes. Really, I might do. If you like this video, I might do another one for the item builds. But like I say, the patch hasn't actually hit the West yet, so I ain't seen any of it. But you know, I'm sure I can find stuff on the internet. But yeah. So thank you for watching, guys. Enjoy preseason 3, especially if you're a support player. I'm sure you will. And we'll see you in my next video.